Hello boys and girls, and welcome back to the Joy of Sticks, your Atari ST gaming channel. My name's Stickhead, you can call me Mark if you like. And yeah, well, I was going to settle down and start my next video in my top 10 series, my favourite Atari ST games series, and an issue arose which got me thinking, and I thought I'd share my thoughts with you. And that issue is, I couldn't really decide whether to emulate the game and then capture the footage from my PC, or to play it on real hardware and record it using my video camera. So yeah, I still haven't really decided. But anyway, it got me thinking about the whole real hardware versus emulation issue, and I'm wondering where I stand on that really, and where you guys stand. So I mean, if you've got any opinions, it would be great to see some video responses, or put your comments down below and let me know what you think. That would be really interesting to hear. But anyway, as far as I'm concerned, I'll lay my cards on the table. I love emulation. There's something about it which gets me a little giddy. My inner geek does a little dance when I can make new PCs misbehave slightly and start behaving like other systems. I do really enjoy that. You got this £1,000 computer you just bought, 16 gigabytes of RAM, quad core processor and all the like, and you spend the whole evening trying to make it behave like an Oric Atmos. There's just something about that. I mean, you can see my stupid grin. It just, I don't know, something about it tickles me, and yeah, I love it. So yeah, there's something quite perverse about doing that, and enjoyable. But there's more to it than that. It's the convenience of emulation is one thing. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, you've heard me talk about my family. I've got 2 boys. Now, when we moved into this house, we had 2 spare rooms, which was amazing. One was a study and general dumping ground, and the other one was my base to play video games and use old computer systems. It was ace. I could disappear up there for a couple of hours, play something on a Mega Drive, and then do a bit of assembly programming on the Atari ST, and all those kind of things on real hardware, and that was really special. But that's just, I can't do that anymore. I've got a boy in each room, and there's just no room in the house anymore for all these different systems. So they've all migrated up into the loft, which is quite sad in a way, really. But I'm kind of hoping that one day they'll see the light of day again. But emulation enables me to continue using these systems, sort of, continue experiencing those old games and operating systems, and all the serious software and things like that. Whereas I wouldn't be able to without emulation. So my current situation is that I have my laptop, where I do a lot of computer emulation, so 8 bits and 16 bits and what have you on there, and I've got my Xbox down here. Not sure if you can see it. My original Xbox has been modded, so I've got lots of console emulators on there, which is nice. I can kick back with the controller and play them on the big screen, which is lovely. So I still get to play all the old classics, just not on the real hardware anymore. So emulation has given me that possibility. What else is good about emulation? Well, with the Atari ST in particular, emulation has a couple of really good points going for it. And when it comes to 3D games, there are some cracking 3D games for the Atari ST, but they're starting to show their age, especially as far as frame rate's concerned. Elite 2 Frontier is one of my favourite games. That's an absolutely cracking 3D game. Jeff Cram's Grand Prix, that's a brilliant game. And they are really good games, but the frame rate's quite low. So when you go back to these games, they're a lot more juttering. Juttering, is that a word? Jittery. Juddering. It's kind of like a combination of the two there. Then you remember, so that's a bit of a disappointment. But with the Steam emulator, which is a brilliant Atari ST emulator, really feature rich, you can up the CPU clock speed, which is brilliant. So you can double it, you can triple it, quadruple it even, to the point where Elite, Frontier and Jeff Cram's Grand Prix, all these brilliant 3D games run really smoothly, and it's really nice to experience them in that way. So it takes away that kind of barrier to me going back and enjoying 3D games, because I can still have that kind of smooth frame rate experience. And I'm like that with PC games. I'd much rather have less detail and a smoother frame rate. That's just the way I am. Yeah, so that's something that emulation gives us. And the with these Atari ST emulators, with Steam as well, you can define the joypad buttons, which is really good for a lot of games. Because back in the day, not that I ever really noticed, it was just the way things were, but platform games were up for jump, driving games were up for accelerate, and that was just the norm. It was fine. But since having a Super Nintendo, Mega Drive, all the other consoles that add more buttons, you begin to realise that it's actually a much better controller solution to have a separate button for up, for jump and for accelerate. And that's noticeable in Steam, because you can define it so that, say on Rainbow Islands, you just move left and right with the joypad, and then have a button for spit a rainbow and a button for jump, and the game becomes a lot easier actually. And my high scores rocket as a result. So that's fantastic. That's something really nice to have about emulation. Oh yeah, I was gonna talk about my history with emulation. I went off to uni when I was 18. I went to Wolverhampton University, just kind of discovering the internet at the time, and I had an old Windows 95 PC, but I couldn't take most of my consoles with me. I ended up taking, what did I take? I can't remember. I did have a Nintendo 64 at university, but I think that was a bit later on. So the emulation was a godsend, really. So just getting into the internet, I discovered a brilliant little site that's still going. Hasn't been updated for a long time, but it's still there, called the Little Green Desktop. Sure, if you're an Atari ST fan, you know all about it. www.atari.st. Cracking site. It looks beautiful. It's laid out just like a gem desktop, which is fantastic to see. And there was a forum on there, and somebody directed me towards Pacifist, which was a DOS emulator. My Windows 95 PC, you could boot to DOS brilliantly, and it worked an absolute charm. So I could still play my ST games on my creaky old PC. So that was brilliant. And then I went from there to discovering lots of emulators. Notably, I think it's called Z80, a DOS emulator for the ZX Spectrum. I think it's Z80. I'll have to check that up. But that was another great one, because around that time I discovered World of Spectrum as well, which was just incredible. And a friend of mine who was a big Spectrum fan gave me a list of the games that we used to play and his favourites, and they're all on there. It was virtually every single Spectrum game in one place. It was just incredible to me as an 18-year-old at university, just suddenly seeing all these games laid out in front of me that back in the day we'd have paid a lot of money for. So that was incredible. So that kind of brings me to another point about emulation, that the vast catalogue of games and systems that are available to you. They're all just a click away on the internet, really. So that's incredible. You can be reading an article in Retro Gamer and find an interest in a game, and then within minutes you could be playing it on an emulator. So that's, you can't take that away from emulators. That's a fantastic feature. But what else was I going to say?